Every time I see your live, I get so excited. I'm like, yay!
We never know what we're gonna play with. We never know. I'm already getting the notification that you and I are gonna switch out. You're gonna anchor me. I'm gonna go up at some point.
It felt like an urgency, like 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 they're trying to connect and they're like trying to push through.
Yeah. While you're going out there, I'll speak to the audience that I do not allow people to channel entities because of the nature of who I am and the access that I have. I do not want individuals like Stephanie channeling. She's not going to channel information through her. She's going to have a seat at the table. That's more respectful from my perspective, and it has fewer consequences because my students, my clients, my team are multifaceted. It's not like their sole mission is to channel this particular entity. I want to ensure that their body and their autonomy is respected. What Stephanie is doing is they're not going to channel through her like a straw. She's going to go up to the fifth dimension campus, and then she will elevate up to a very entry point of sixth dimension and communicate to them as if she had a seat at the table and they're speaking to her directly. If you are in the audience and you have not watched this before, you may feel a little bit of pressure on your head. It's simply because I'm anchoring Stephanie, and if you're sensitive to my energy, you're going to pick up a little bit of that as well. It'll subside at the end of the session. But if you're sensitive, especially if you're sensitive to my energy, I'm an intensifier.
It feels like it's gonna be a story time kind of a thing. Like I feel them like gather around children. Like
Yeah, I'm feeling it too. It's like I had to take a breath, like, ooh, they're here.
and I think you're right. I think it's you, only because you have a way of translating better than I do. Okay. They said we can switch if you want.
I'll switch, let you sit in sixth dimension. Then when you get tired, come back down because I only get about 6 minutes. So I want to go in and get what I need to get. Sixth dimension for for anyone that's watching my lives right now, whatever you think of dimensions, I want you to just put that to the side because I operate on mathematical length, width, height, time, space of fifth dimension. When we're going into sixth dimension, that's a pretty powerful place to be. And it is not sustainable for the human body. It will create distress in the body to stay there too long. And you'll hear other people, other practitioners talking about dimensions. They're using a different measure of their definitions are different.
There's like this spiral energy like coming down.
I can feel the swaying.
Yeah. I'm curious if, because it almost feels like I can be up there, but kind of be like an antenna to where you can still hear them.
Yeah, but I want to
That,
anchor you because it's
oh,
like,
okay.
that if I'm an OSHA supervisor, I want to make sure that we're abiding by OSHA standards. So I would rather you still tether me and I anchor in, even though I can do it on my own. It's a more responsible way to do it.
Okay.
So we'll just switch out. Mhm. It's like, rock climbing indoors. You want to have someone holding the line.
Right. Okay.
I'm just making an analogy, Diana, that OSHA like is in contracting safety oversight versus metaphysical traveling.
Okay. I'm there.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Las Vegas UFOs, what's going on?
I said humans are expanding. Humans are expanding, therefore they can see more than what we're used to. They're saying in general, because it's been happening all over the world.
We're more likely to be, we're more ready now than we were 20, 30 years ago. 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't quite as normalized.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's more of like we're expanding fields and we're able to be more sensitive to the things around us. Because they've always been there.
Mhm. Oh
It's
yeah,
just
before this iteration of humanity.
like some people talk about a veil. It's like we're starting to penetrate the veil easily without even knowing that we're doing it because our consciousness is growing.
Why Las Vegas? What is the importance of Las Vegas?
It's like it's where you least expect it, kind of. Like I'm getting more of a feeling here. It's like you least expect it to be there, but it's also the ground, earth.
Mhm. What is significant about our ground?
It's sacred,
How come?
like sacred.
But it's not a Native American sacred. It's a
To them. Like it feels sacred to them. How it vibrates. It's almost like their airport
Mhm.
where they land. It's like they go there first and then they disperse from there.
Are
But
there
it's
other
more
airports on this planet?
two. So this is one and there's another one on the other side. And also because there's a lot of desert around. So it's like easier.
Yeah.
It's easier for them to move. And with that sighting, I guess they didn't, it was like normal protocol. They were just gonna do what they normally do. But then they also got a little scared when they saw that the humans can see them too, because that usually doesn't happen.
Oh, interesting. This was sort of a hiccup or
Like they scared each other. They're like, "Whoa, you see me?" Because I've seen you, but you can see me now. That yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, and it didn't. It's not like they came here for something bad or anything. They were just. It's like they were doing their job. Like they were just like a normal day patrolling kind of a thing, and then that happened. And the same thing is happening with their ships. They said,
are their ships? They're like the spacecraft.
yeah, like well, they call it ships, like whatever it is that they're going on. That normally we could never see it, but now we're noticing it more.
And it's interesting that I can feel certain species or certain craft ships. Um, I didn't feel this collective coming. And usually I have this magnetic pull to like, hey, over here.
Because it wasn't anything special. It wasn't something that was like, oh, we're coming here like a mission. It wasn't that. It was just like normal protocol kind of a thing. Like it seems like it's very janitorial almost. Like
So
they
they're just
routine
traveling
like
to Vegas, traveling to Earth, and they that's what they do. Is it like a full-time job?
it's not like they were cleaning, but they were like it feels like it's a routine thing. Like they come, they do something, they like I'm not sure what they're doing though. They come here, they do something, and then they just go. Like it's but it seems like it's a routine. Like they do it repetitively every once in a while.
And the intent was to go undetected and just go about their business.
Exactly. Because they usually don't run into those hiccups. But this time it was like, whoa. And it also feels like on their end, they're kind of like, well, what do we do about this now? Like, should we be concerned? They're also having those conversations of if we can see them now, how do they interact or what's gonna happen?
How do they continue doing their routine maintenance if we're
Right.
gonna
Like,
find them?
oh, what do we do? Yeah.
Will there come a time in the near future where we just say, hey, nice to see you. Good to see you. You're back. Or is that, are we still too far away from that kind of
It feels like that would be the
commingling?
natural thing to do, but it doesn't feel like it's like within the next 10 or 20 years. Like it does feel like a little bit of a longer timeline for that to happen as the humans expand more in their consciousness. But eventually it does seem like something that we would do.
This isn't the first time there have been UFO sightings in Las Vegas. This is certainly not even
Right.
like the first 20 times. Why is the government now speaking out saying, oh, yes, this happened? When in previous times they were like, oh, it was, government testing, Nellis, it was part of a new Space Force training. They would dismiss it. And now they're saying, okay, yeah, we acknowledge this. Why now?
Because it's undeniable now. It's like it's not just the one person that's with a tinfoil hat that's like, oh, they're crazy. It's more of like, well, now there's a variety of people and different types of people that can see it. So it's harder for them to cover it up. That's why they're just being open about it. Like, yes, it is true.
Yeah.
It's harder to say a mass is wrong or crazy than it is for a couple of people.
And in this particular species, can we learn more about them? Are we able to learn more about them? Where they come from?
Yes. They said you can talk to them directly.
I can, or like the general human species, the human race?
The general humans can.
Okay.
It feels like they're very, again, like janitorials kind of a thing. Like the Council of Nine is more of upper, like, I don't want to
Oh,
say
yeah.
president, but like a governor kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And these species that come and do routine feels more like on a lower level.
They can't be any higher than, well, I would imagine that they're not any higher than fifth dimensional beings. If they're able to have a density enough to walk Earth, they would have to be light enough. I mean, they would have to be dense enough, lower in the densities, the dimensions to be able to do that, right?
Right. Oh yeah, that I don't think that they were referring to dimensions when they said that. It's more of like they don't contribute to humans as much as like the Council of Nine does.
Oh,
Or
sure.
the yeah, that's why they're like you can talk to them and you can say hi to them and but they're not there to bring any value kind of a thing.
Yeah. And for reference, the Council of Nine, it doesn't necessarily, it's not nine entities, it's the collective that represents nine as the number representing leadership. And the nine, Council of Nine, are seventh dimension beings, which is a very, very high vibration space. If they're walking the earth, if aliens are walking the earth, they are not seventh dimension beings. They would be too light. They wouldn't have enough substance. They're not dense enough to land on Earth. Kelly asked if you should be fearful at all. I'll just go ahead and answer that. No, no. They've been intermingling, they've been mingling with us for centuries. We just didn't know they were there. They didn't cause harm before, they're not going to cause harm now.
No, and I kind of got like the feeling that some of them might be a little jokers. Like they might just like mess with us a little bit because it's almost like, oh, they can't see me anyways. Let me just move their cup or let me just, like mess with them a little bit, but they're not harmful at all.
I feel the energy shifting. So what about the other facets? They had mentioned in the last interview that we did that we had talked about the law of one and Ra, and we asked if they were the same Council of Nine that's mentioned in those chronicles. And they said yes, but they have other facets, other functions, and those functions were what I would be more concerned with. So can we learn more about the other facets and functions of the Council of Nine?
Right. Because one of them was the army of the spirit guides. I guess some of the other facets don't pertain to humans.
Yeah. And they had mentioned that last time too.
Yeah, because I'm like, there's this, what's over here? And I got nothing. They're like, well,
And understandably, they're seventh dimension beings. They're overseeing multiple solar systems, multiple species, multiple functions. We're this little like pillar.
right. They're just like it's other I kind of see it like sides. Like they have this side, which is us, and then they have other sides. But those other sides, they're like you wouldn't understand anyways. So that's why you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
But it have to do with the other like other solar systems, like you said.
So Kathy had asked about implants, and I'll answer that. Implants, it's a topic that is a little bit fringe for the average viewer. But that would be done by your home family and not the overseers of your spirit guides. It's like we would have different levels of authority in our childhood. We might have parents and then babysitters and teachers and so on. The home planet would be like the parent equivalent. So that would be who would be responsible for the topic of implants. And that's a deeper conversation. Kelly asked, can they communicate through our dreams? Would the Council of Nine communicate to us directly as humans?
Not necessarily. They don't. It's almost like like the governor, right? The governor's not going to talk to you directly and tell you that, you parked the wrong way. Like it goes through a line. So if they see something that stands out to them, they're going to give it to the spirit guides in charge of that and then pass it down the line because they have so much to do and other like we have so many different things to do. It just doesn't make sense to communicate directly to someone unless it's super needed.
So these are high vibration beings. The seventh dimension beings are so high vibration that Stephani in sixth dimension, she's mentioned it before, that she feels like she's talking across a football field, because from sixth to seventh is a very, very large gap. Like traveling across Rhode Island as one state versus traveling across California as one state. There's so much more distance in the higher dimensions. They would not occupy any species. They oversee the spirit guides that oversee us, that monitor us. So they're high up in the hierarchy. They would not, like they wouldn't have any density at all to be another species like a reptilian. Diana said she had an experience with them moving in and out of what appeared to be dimensions in her wall. Are you sure that's the Council of Nine, Diana? Because they wouldn't come this close to Earth.
Yeah, no, they can't.
They can't, their energy is so high vibe, it would interfere on this three-dimensional board game. It's not, just not compatible. Now, paranormal events happening, Diana, absolutely, but that wouldn't be the Council of Nine. That would be a different category.
Yeah.
This is, if we look at layers, it would be like the president of the United States. And then you would have governors, and then you would have mayors, and then you would have your local neighborhoods. It just wouldn't be something that you would come in contact with. The gray, oh yeah, these are not the grays. The grays also can walk this earth. So the grays have to be a lower number dimensionally, which makes them more dense, able to stand on this board game versus a very light density space. Oh, do they believe in God? That's an interesting question. Let's ask that question.
They understand the question. They know what we're referring to, but they're like, their definition of God is not what humans think it is.
Change it to creator. Do they believe in a creator?
They said that's not the right word either.
Okay.
It's like everything around them. They're made of it. It's almost like an element. The closest thing that I can think of too is source.
Yeah. And understand, if you're in the audience, understand God is an English word or God is an earth word. They're representing multiple solar systems. So their awareness in the language, we get very limited when you come down from like 1 billion words in a language to 100 million words in a language to 1 million words in a language. You have to choose. So our concept of God is certainly not their concept of God. It's going to have a big gap in the deficiency of the definition.
It's more of like a feeling. And they said that Melissa can sing it and you can feel it.
Golden Melissa. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she sings, you can feel that coming through her.
Yeah. And they said it's an energy, it's a wavelength, it's a feeling.
So Heath and Val asked if one being create everything as we know it?
No, it's not a being. It's not like it's not even someone like them, they said. It's
A being would imply a density that would take a physical form.
right. And it also implies like a singular kind of a thing. And they said it's not. I think they're trying to tell me and I can't receive it because it's like I can't understand it. I can't comprehend it.
It's okay for us to have words that mean something, because we don't, our drop down menu of understanding the
Doesn't have
scope is so limited that it's like trying to explain very complex concepts to a kindergartner. You would explain it the best you can in a language they understand with the vocabulary that they have. We as humans, especially in the English language, like we only have one word for love. Greeks have 6. Imagine what it would be like to be in a 7th dimensional space where you would have an infinite number of ways to express something. and then trying to find it in our vocabulary database can be challenging. And even when I'm doing deep work with people, very often you'll say this vessel does not have a proper word to describe this, or this is not describable at this time. And they're being respectful. They're just saying that if they were to choose from our short drop down menu, it would lead us in a direction that would not be accurate.
Yeah.
Is Earth the lowest vibration, or are there other planets that have lower vibrational beings?
There's others that have lower vibrational beings. Yeah. I mean, we are they're like, we're down there, but we're not all the way down, is what they're saying. So like Earth is here, but then there's still some more that are here, but then obviously there's like a lot more on top of us.
So why Earth? If we participate in the understanding of reincarnation and past lives, why would we choose to come back to Earth if this is a very difficult mission? What would our incentive be?
I got the vision of kind of like, it's like kindergarten. It's like kindergarten where you go and you learn about the fundamentals of what, of like, not source, of like
Emotions and entanglement.
right, like the basics almost. Like it's I keep wanting to say source, but it's not source. It's like everything. It's like encompassing the fundamentals. It's almost like the fundamentals of who they are. Like you have to understand these fundamentals, these emotions, and go through them in a very raw way in order to know what to do on a higher dimension and how to multiply those or how to see them in different facets.
So Debbie asked, would we go somewhere else better next time, like in the next life?
If you choose to. Because sometimes you souls come back and or souls or beings or energies come back and they know that they're not ready, that they don't fully have that education or that understanding to go up into a higher dimension and be able to sustain at a higher dimension.
One of the things that I've learned in reading thousands and thousands of pages of Dolores Cannon transcripts, and also my own experiences in working with people that are able for me to speak to their subconscious, their soul. What I have found in my own experiences is that we may sign up for love. We want to learn love in this lifetime, but we as humans right now would interpret that as we want to feel the depths of love. But sometimes we have to have a lifetime with the absence of love, and then a lifetime with an abundance of love to truly understand love. We have to see the yin and the yang of the scenario. So what we think is like, oh, this is a horrific lifetime that we're living and it's so void of this. It could be because we are learning the absence of something so that either the previous or the past, which that's a three-dimensional term because time is linear in 3 dimensions, it's simultaneous in 5th, that the other lifetimes that we are experiencing are contrasting it so that we have a way to triangulate the experience of that emotion. Sunnyside Prophets asked, how do we get back home? Ooh, that like went in my neck.
You choose it. You choose when you are ready. They're like, it's not something like a university where you have to go past this course and this course and this course. It's when your essence, your energy feels ready to move on and feels ready and capable of being in other dimensions.
How many species of aliens are there?
A shit ton.
Yeah, that was basically the answer. I was like, I just saw the infinity symbol. They're like, the number would not it was just like the number would not be appropriate at this time. So shit ton is be more accurate than what I was gonna say.
They kind of also showed like to me the comparison of species of aliens in that dimension is kind of like races or different races here on Earth. There's so many different dialogues, races, ethnicities. Like there's just so many that to intertwine, and that's about that's what they compared it to. There's like a shit ton of species of aliens too.
When we look at the Council of Nine, these are beings that have never been human. They because of their role and their function, they would not have experienced life as we know it here. They're a very high dimensional being, and it's not their path. It wouldn't be their path to come here.
Every time that I get or that we get that question, they show me an image of like an elephant trying to be fit into like a little box. Like it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, they have too high of a capacity of energy to even have, if they were the ocean, their ocean is so big that they couldn't even scoop up a cup to sit on Earth's plane. It's in oversimplifying the answer, their capacity is too large to take a piece to come here. Say genie for gene, yes. So your soul does have a choice, but understand that a three-dimensional question from and having a seventh dimensional answer is not necessarily compatible. Yes, your soul has a choice, but if we were to study, quantum healing hypnosis technique or past life regressions, you'll hear these conversations about karmic wheels. So the answer is going to change depending on which group is answering from which dimension.
Yeah.
How many dimensions are there? I know of 7.
Is it that many?
Yeah.
They're saying that it's definitely more than 7.
Yeah,
There's like
I saw the finger go up, like there's more, but you have no business. Like you have no business.
more elevators on this that you can go
Yeah.
up. And they said there's a lot more, but we wouldn't again be able to comprehend.
The 7th dimensional group may be one of the highest dimensional entities you'll interact with, because anything higher than that, they would have zero business interacting with humans.
Right.
Oh, I'm getting warm tapping in now.
I know I keep swaying because there's just so much energy.
Yeah, and for those that are talking about love, like Debbie and Heath and Val, when we're in the suffering side of it, like we're like the feeling of the lack or the other side of that lesson, while we're in it as humans, it's so uncomfortable. Like, why would we want to do this? Like, I hope we're done with this. But when we look at life from a 6th dimension perspective, where we would elevate back to and return to, it's not seen that way. It's not viewed that way. Like, oh, that was a horrific lifetime. It was, we learned these lessons.
Yes.
And it's like taking a really hard college course, and while you're in it, you're like, I hate it. But that college course helped you complete your degree. So you also feel gratitude and you appreciate that you did it because it was part of your path. Are most aliens similar to us, like humanoid? No, Krista, if you've ever gone up to the campus, if you work with me privately or on TikTok multiple times, and we go up to the campus, Stephanie's spirit guide is a little plankton. Sometimes we have very large, like 20-foot races there, and we have very small, short, like my galactic director of plant medicine is pretty short. I have one of my quantum surgeons is like shorter than Danny DeVito, super tiny, and like he has a stool to come up and do the surgery, the quantum surgeries. They're not always human-ish. They're weird, so they'll present as human if you're not comfortable with it, or they will just be themselves if you are okay with that.
Yeah, like Plankton, he literally presents himself like SpongeBob, like Plankton, because I was comfortable with that. And now he's just like, all right, I'll wear this mask when I present to Stephanie because she's comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that their actual entities, we would even see if they were to present as themselves.
Are the Council of Nine the same entity, or are they a collection of different entities?
They're the same. They're like the same group, the same race, if you will, ethnicity.
So these are questions if you want to ask about the recent UFO sightings or spirit guides, especially spirit guides, because they oversee spirit guides. They are the trainers for our spirit guides, or if your belief system refers to them as something different, these entities are 7th dimension beings that ensure that our spirit guides, our guardians, have the proper training to be able to support us in walking our path here in this lifetime. Do they have higher level guides assigned to more problematic humans like in our government? Could we request that? Like, is that something that, like, could you please like bring in a stronger set of influence over these politicians.
How funny. So you're saying like, can you request
Yeah, could
spirit?
we say like, hey, the spirit guides that are overseeing these political leaders are not really helping. We need stronger support, like more nudges to do the right thing.
I'm laughing because like in my head I saw like those spirit guys need to go to therapy almost. Like they're like the most
They're burnt out.
the worn down one. Yeah. They're kind of like you can't really request that, but just know that everybody's spirit guides team is working as best as they can for the person that they're assigned for.
So Kelly asked, how do you know who your spirit guides are? And do they want to answer that question for her?
Hold on, they're translating. It's and this kind of goes back to another question that's like, how do you talk to them? They said that they're always with you. Sometimes it could be a thought or something that comes into your head that you don't know where it came from, and start there and start asking the question of who are you? Are you here to help? And they start revealing themselves. But the first step is to distinguish which thoughts are yours and which thoughts are from them or come out of nowhere. And that's the most direct channel that they have with you.
Sometimes it's dreams, sometimes it's they will communicate in many different ways, whatever way is easiest for you. So if you're not quite as receptive or not ready, perhaps they might come in a Facebook meme or a TikTok video, be like, hey, this is the message we want to convey. We're going to send it to you in these little pieces that are digestible for where you are right now in your journey. So Krista asked, is it true nuclear weapons can disrupt our actual soul? Oh, that was like, I wasn't expecting that little, yeah, there was
like a kind of a thing. They're saying that nuclear weapons can disrupt us as a planet, as a species.
So when we look at nuclear weapons, the issue with why other races are interfering, and if you're not sure what I mean, there was a South Dakota state meeting. I don't know if it was like an assembly meeting or a house meeting, and they brought the issue up and they disclosed in this public meeting that entities were interfering with their nuclear weapon site. The issue is not that, oh, these silly humans are going to blow themselves up. It's that the vibration of whatever stupidity we do here impacts the entire solar system. It impacts every single planet in our solar system, just as when the planet between Mars and Jupiter exploded and created the asteroidal belt, that was a very similar situation, and they don't want to repeat history. It knocked our orbit off. We had a more, and I say more circular, but our orbital pattern was different before that explosion, and the explosion knocked things off, and we had to adjust over millions and millions of years to adapt to that shift. Our stupidity doesn't just impact us. It's like what like in my video I did last night, like when my son fails to do something and his teacher gets involved and his parents get involved and students, and he can't play with his friends are now involved because of his action. If we did something super stupid as a planet, we're impacting so many races, so many planets, and the ecosystem of our entire solar system. It's very important that we don't do stupid things.
Yeah. And when you said that, I saw the vision of it's almost like a kid, picking up like a match and you slap it away from them. You're like, no, don't do that. That's kind of what they're doing. It's like just slapping it away and being like, you can't play with that.
Yeah, like don't touch that. If the match is down, don't touch that. Chi asks, do the people who are playing the bad guy in our lives know that they are playing that role? Probably not. There's an amnesia piece. And until they go into a deep state of hypnosis or deep state of where I can speak to the subconscious and it can come forward, their role that they're playing, they're not even consciously aware that they're playing a role.
They're just being.
So Heathen Val asks, can you please ask them if there's a real heaven and hell? That's a human understanding.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell, and I've done this, it's been a long time since I've done the video. When we look from a Christian perspective biblically back to the original text, it didn't get translated to English the way we've been ingrained to believe. There's the heavens and the hell, but that's more about how we live this planet. Not once we get beyond, like, even if I have very Catholic or Christian clients, when we go into a deep state and we're going through crossing over, or going before birth, before pregnancy. Anytime someone feels like they did something so horrific that they were going to go to hell, they experience these momentary periods where they just feel like they're in this rage of brimstone, and then it fades away, and then they see the love on the other side of that wall. So heaven and hell, the concept is a Christian concept, but it's not a human, collectively a human concept. Or I shouldn't say Christians, multiple religions, but religions where the belief of heaven and hell exist, it's a subjective human understanding.
They're also saying that emotions, how we experience them, is a human thing. Like they understand what anger is and they understand what sadness is, but they don't experience it the same as we do with emotions. And that's what that was referring to. Like heaven and hell, like you can make yourself be like you're either in a paradise or you're either suffering and in hell through your emotions.
Here in this lifetime on this planet.
Exactly. It doesn't exist where they're from. There is no.
Our understanding of it is limited to this three-dimensional board game. As we expand out and we have more information to help define it, we evolve our definition of what that is. Debbie asked, like, what type of individual feeling should we ask for so you don't get tricked when it appears to be a spirit guide, but it's not a spirit guide?
Ask them who they are. Ask them and they will always tell you. They have to tell you who they are. As far as feeling goes, it will feel
like it's like a string within you.
Yeah, and it also feel like love, like a mother, like when your mom hugs you, like it will feel like love and support, versus if it was trying to trick you, you wouldn't feel those things.
So La Bruja Jessica asked, are reptilians a real thing? I'm going to answer that from a fifth dimensional perspective. So zoomed up, looking down onto 3D reality. We are all in 3D, we're just a human, like flesh, right? We're human. But when we go up into the higher dimensions, we are no longer a single object. We are multiple lifetimes at once. But that doesn't mean we're multiple humans at once. We could be this. We could be 12 different species experiencing life all at once. But then as it comes down, it appears to be in a very linear timeline of 3 dimensions. So, and you'll see that some people, their superpower is to see through someone's eyes, and they'll see all these different people in their eyes, and they think that that's a glitch, when that's really a superpower of theirs, to be able to see who someone really is at a higher dimensional state.
I think it's time to start going down. You want to switch?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's switch out I've got about 5 minutes or so. Yeah, nuclear weapons are definitely a line item on the meeting agendas. Krista asked, are there other life forms living on planets in our solar system? Yes. Yes. If you're in my intro to, you were in any of my intro to alien groups, they got to play and interact with some things that were, one of my groups, we went to the moon and we met with different species that met us at the moon. And those species scanned us. And I forgot to warn the audience, like some species automatically scan us, just like how I can mirror neuron into someone to feel what they're feeling. That's just part of that species culture, is to scan for threats. And some of the participants felt very violated. And I'm like, well, that's culturally acceptable in that, for that race of existence.
Where do you want me to go? To the campus or down to the
yeah, maybe back in the campus, so that, and anchor me so I go up. Ethan vows it. So it is a human belief, but it is very much real after this life. It is very real, just not real in our understanding of it. In the same way that if you are a 2-dimensional object living on a square, like Flat Stanley, a 3-dimensional world, you wouldn't see the other 5 sides of a cube. You would be just living as this side facing outward. That would be your only exposure to your identity. But a 3-dimensional object has 6 sides if it's coming from a square. And then it goes into a tesseract and then a hypercube. The addition of the data that you have access to as you expand up gives you more insight as to what truth is. So in this 3D space, that is your truth, and that is correct from a 3D question with a 3D answer. But if we're with 7th-dimensional beings, I'm gonna be freer to give you answers that come from a higher dimensional perspective. There is karma. There's absolutely karma, Debbie. Okay, so I'm going to switch with you. I'm going to quickly get some. Oh, Kasha, yeah. Oh, look how deep I swim in the metaphysical arena. And I'm like, I will not put an expert in front of my name or master, because the smarter I get, the more I realize I know nothing. Like, the more aware I get, the bigger the playing field gets. So I'm going to switch out for about 5 minutes, Stephanie. And I
Okay.
only have 6 minutes anyway to go up there. So some of you that are sensitive or accustomed to my energy, you may feel my energy. If you get strobe light effect, just slow down your breathing and open your eyes, or look around your phone instead of at your phone.
I just got the chills when you switched. And you amplify it, so I feel like I'm there too.
Wow. Well, that's like I sway with you. It's like if you were rock climbing, I'm holding the rope, and as you're swaying up, the rope is swaying. I'm swaying with the rope as you sway up. So I'm anchoring you, but I'm still moving with you.
Right.
This audience that we're talking to now, what they're saying is that these sessions that we're having, talking about the Council of Nine, is to help people feel safer as more things are released in the government, that you have a space to ask questions and to be curious and to consider things that are far beyond your sense of reality in this moment, and still feel safe asking those questions. Okay, Liz, if you're getting nauseous, slow down, disconnect from my energy. Just like if you have to do something visual to close out, because those that have worked with me they can ride the wave faster. And to answer the heaven and hell question, if you believe in heaven and hell, hold on to that belief. That is your belief here, now, and that is your truth. And whatever I may say should not veer you from your truth. This is to bring us more awareness, like why we're not doing this privately like we were before, and why this is now coming public, is to allow people to have a platform to ask questions and to feel the different energies that we would be interacting with without fear. Just like super curiosity is what I'm hearing, to bring that childlike curiosity of who are you, and oh, let's go play. Like little kids, like they don't care what the other person looks like. It's like, do you want to go play? And they don't care. So for us to have that curiosity, to not be afraid, to just be curious, not overly ignorant in Pollyanna, like, oh, everything's great, to still have caution like we would with communicating with a stranger. But if we were sitting on a public transportation bus or subway, to not be afraid to talk to the person next to us, to you still have boundaries, you still have your spaces respected, but to engage in a conversation. And those that may have been afraid because of their religious upbringing to hear or see or to feel, allowing those channels to open also allows the connection with the spirit guides who are here to support you and to guide you. And I get the sense that as kids, we may have interacted with the spirit guides, and that like just like I had imaginary friends, and then I was told they weren't real, or not to talk to them, or I was dismissed, or whatever communication I had, we may have had adults thinking that they were helping us, thinned out the connection that we would have had with our spirit guides. So it's about being open to reconnecting those lines, those channels of communication, whether through dreams or through visual, cognizant, or auditory means of communication. And they're saying something about like, don't be afraid to put your hands in your pockets and feel what's hiding in your pockets. I don't know if that's symbolic or
It's almost like what you have and you don't know you have.
yeah, it's already sitting in your pocket.
I think that's symbolic.
And not to be afraid. They're showing me like a sphere inverting on itself. So it's don't be afraid. Don't be afraid if things if what you believe to be reality gets inverted, to still be curious and to still ask questions. And it's okay that like not to consider what they're showing me in pictures. I'm trying to translate pictures, like not to be afraid of having those beliefs turned upside down, so to speak, because and it's not that you're changing your belief, you're evolving your belief. It's like you're maturing the belief to see the other side of it. And that's part of like spiritual maturity, is to be able to experience what we hold on to being true, and then allowing that to invert on itself to show you the other facet or the other elements of that belief. I've got to come back down. I've hit my, so we've got, Diana, your eyes are very ready. Not unusual. Ready to come back?
Yes.
And we are going to do this again. Signed up for the newsletter. You will get the updates of the next date, which will be in July. And we'll continue the conversation. And it'll get posted on YouTube. And then you can also ask questions in there as well. You know, I really advocate for being curious and not letting fear be the driver. Fear can sit in the back seat, but curiosity has to be the driver. You ready to drop down?
Yeah.
Let me know when you're down in fourth. So what you're going to watch right now is Stephani coming from, she dropped down from sixth earlier to fifth, hung out. From fifth, we're going to go to fourth. And then we'll come to third so that we don't feel that crashing sensation of returning back. And it doesn't make much sense when you're watching it, but when you're a participant in it, it's like you're being squeezed back into your body. It's not comfortable if we go too fast. So we step down.
Okay, I'm in fourth.
So we're gonna hang out in fourth for a couple minutes. And if for those that are sensitive to my energy, you may feel it like stepping down. No buzzing, less buzzing, no buzzing, back to third. And I learned this a few years ago when I was taking people to my campus. I had been going to my campus and it would just like close my eyes and I had this entire city of intergalactic beings available to me. And then 4th of July weekend of 2020, I think 2020. I took someone there for the first time and we talked a lot coming back, so I didn't notice it. But then when I took the second person, he had this light, what he called jet lag. He had jet lag for 7 days. He's like, I think there's something wrong with your method.